Hello everyone, welcome back to Believer CS Academy Bengaluru. This is the daily news analysis. On 18th October 2025, we'll discuss important articles from UPSC prelims, mains as well as interview perspective. So the first article is from the Hindu, which talks about US trade body moves court over Trump's H-1B visa free hike. We have seen recently Trump has introduced $1 lakh fee on new visa or H1B visa applications. So the US Chamber of Commerce has filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump's decision. So what is the details? Who filed the case? Case was filed by US Chamber of Commerce, a leading business advocacy group representing American companies. Where was the case filed? Case was filed in the US District of Columbia. What is the main argument? Main argument is the chamber contends that fee hike violates existing laws, especially the Immigration and Nationality Act, that is INA, which mandates visa fees must be based on the administrative processing costs and not as a punitive or protectionist measures. What is Trump doing here? Trump is increasing this as part of his MAGA, that is Make America Great Again, and under his protectionist policy. American jobs for Americans first. That is protectionist policy. The basic idea behind this 1 lakh or $100,000 fee hike is basically protectionism, which is not provided under the Immigration and Nationality Act. The fees or visa fees should be based on the administrative processing cost. But what is he doing here? He is doing it as a punitive or protectionist measure. So, what is the purpose of H-1B program? It was created by the US Congress to allow US companies to hire high skilled foreign workers, especially in the STEM fields when the local talent is unavailable. Okay, so what is the impact of the new fee then? The 10,000 or 100,000 per application fee could make participation financially unviable for startups, small and medium businesses. The larger businesses like Google, Microsoft, etc., which already established their bases in USA, can easily uh, provide this $100,000 fee application. But the few newer startups or small and medium businesses will now not be able to hire foreigners or hire immigrants on this new visa fee hike. As a result, they have to go for alternatives. That is either shut up or shut down or hire someone locally. So the large tech companies may manage the cost, but smaller firms may withdraw from using the H1B route altogether. This could reduce access to global skill talent, hurting innovation and competitiveness. This is the basis on very basis on which USA was booming previously. So USA's STEM policy was grown by the brain drain that was happening in other countries, or the brain attraction that was happening in the USA. Now what is happening? This brain drain is happening from few of the countries, but this brain drain, instead of going to USA, is now going to other countries such as China. So recently China introduced K1 visa, which was a direct attack on US's H1B visa, where the fees are very less and aim is to attract this brain from other countries into China. Okay, so next, government rationale behind this one is the Trump administration argues this helps protect American jobs by discouraging the companies from hiring cheaper foreign workers. The duration of the fee is hike is temporary or 1 year, but can be extended by government. Data and context is as of January, 7.3 lakh or 7 lakh 30,000 people are H1B visa holders in the USA, and 70% of them were Indian nationals, highlighting the India's major stake in the issue. So one of the major reason behind Trump going for this move was to target Indian workers in USA. So this is one of his many measures where he increased tariff by 50% on Indian imports or Indian exports, and then increased this $1,000 or $100,000 shock, and also deal with Pakistan, and also criticizing India for Russian oil deal. All these things were aimed at India. So he wants to heed India to their demands. He wants to stop India from making trade with Russia. So, but India said it is according to our strategic autonomy. We will do what we deems necessary. Next, TCS had 5,505 visa approved in the 2025 as of June, which is the second highest globally. Next, what are the implications? The legal is may set precedent on executive overreach, whether the administration can impose such large fees without the congressional approval or not. And economic could impact the tech sector and India-US economic ties as Indian IT firms are among the largest H1B users. And what is the political? It reflects continuing protectionist stance of the Trump era immigration policy. A very important event, you can say. So we have to wait and see how this unfolds in the future. Next, another important article, or you can see a victory of the Indian government, that is 210 Maoists laid down arms in Chhattisgarh, which is the largest ever surrender by the group. So, what is the highlights? Historic surrender. 210 Maoist cadres from the Dandakaranya region surrendered in Bastar district, Chhattisgarh, which was the largest ever such event in India's anti-Naxal campaign. Who surrendered? It included Rupesh alias Satish, a central committee member of the banned CPI Maoist, who was among the most senior leaders to surrender in recent years. And the ceremony details held in Jagdalpur Bastar headquarters. The surrender was symbolic and community driven. That is, the Maoists were welcomed with roses by the tribal leaders instead of formally handing over papers to the officials. So there was no media interaction or major political presence. The ceremony was projected as a social reintegration and not merely a security event. A very significant moment. How security issues can be addressed through social integration rather than making it a political or security concern. Next, the statement and reactions were Chief Minister Vishnu Devasai has says that called it a new beginning of trust, transformation and life, praising the cadres for embracing the Indian Constitution. Deputy CM Vijay Sharma of Chhattisgarh said, announced that the northwestern Bastar is now Naxal free. And the Rupesh, the surrender leader from Maoist, said that changed circumstances resulted in surrendering and not abandoning the struggle. He also placed specific demands, including surrendered cadres should not be forced to join district reserve guards, that is the local anti-Naxal force, addressing broader tribal issues in Basta, that is government reportedly accepted some of these demands in line with the policy. So, as a result, both the demands of government and the demands of tribals or the Naxals have been agreed upon. Next, the national context is Prime Minister Modi remarked, he declared India is close to being free of Maoist terror with 303 Naxal operatives surrendering in the past 75 years. Said only three districts remain under left-wing extremism. Asserted that a left-wing extremism will soon be history, calling it a guarantee. Next, significance is marks a major psychological and operational blow to Maoist networks in the Bastar and Dandakaranya corridor. Now, other Maoist groups which are still present in these areas will start thinking, should we be considering surrendering as well? Next, governance and trust building. This community-led surrender model signals a shift from coercive to rehabilitative approaches. Previously, our anti-Naxal campaign focused mainly on the coercive measures, but now we are focusing on rehabilitative approaches. Next, socio-political. This reflects growing alienation within Maoist ranks and possible success of development-led counterinsurgency. The major reason behind people joining the Maoism was lack of developmental activities, lack of their demands being met. But now what is happening? Development is on the rise. As a result, the very idea that development was not happening, as a result, they were recruiting more Maoists. That very reason is now gone. As a result, there is a growing alienation within these Maoist ranks. Then symbolism is surrendering with copies of constitution signifies ideological reintegration into the mainstream democracy, which is a victory of Indian democracy. Okay, very important article or very important event. Next, moving to South America and American continents. What is the issue? It was also in front page of Hindu, which is Venezuela mobilizes troops amid US buildup and strikes in Caribbean. What is this? The key development is Venezuela's troop mobilization. It is in response to escalating US military activity in the Caribbean Sea. Venezuela has deployed 17,000 troops in Táchira state, which is bordering Colombia, and reinforced its position in Amazonas, that is near Colombia and Brazil and coastal areas. What is this? This mobilization follows series of UL naval strikes on alleged drug smuggling boats which have killed at least 27 people in the recent weeks. What is the trigger for escalation? That is the US military buildup with the several warships stationed in the Caribbean is part of a purported anti-narcotics campaign. However, the analysts and the regional leaders view it as an illegal and politically motivated operation aimed at destabilizing the Venezuelan government. So, what USA is saying, what we are doing is only anti narcotic operations, okay, only focusing on narcotism. But what is Colombia's argument? Colombia says that you are not doing it for an anti-narcotism, you are doing to destabilize the politics of Venezuela, that is to bring coup in Venezuela. What is the Washington stance? President Trump confirmed authorizing covert CIA operations in Venezuela and hinted at possibly expanding military station from sea to land, claiming US now has the sea under control. You can see Trump is always looking at or looking for some troubles. In some areas, he claims to be the messiah of peace because he stopped, according to him, he stopped 17 wars. But in some other areas, he is the like menace of, instead of messiah, he is a menace of terrorism, menace of terror or war. That is what is happening in Colombia now. Leadership shakeup. That is Admiral Alvin Hosley, the head of US Southern Command, overseeing the operations in Latin America, announced his resignation just a year into his tenure, adding to recent instability among the top US military leadership as well. This can also signify the growing discomfort between the army and the government. So, what is the Venezuelan reaction? The President Nicolas Maduro says that this is actions of USA as a regime change attempt and accused Washington of CIA orchestrated coups, and also ordered military exercises in urban and border regions to prepare for possible incursions in the future. And Vice President Delcy Rodriguez denied reports that she had secretly negotiated with US officials about Maduro's approval. Next, the regional impact is Colombia's President Gustavo Petro has urged the UN to initiate a criminal process against Mr. Trump for what he described as an illegal extrajudicial killings of Colombian nationals. Then, Trinidad and Tobago is investigating whether two citizens were killed among those killed in USA in recent US strikes. So even not only Colombia but also Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela are also implicating that US is increasing its presence in the local politics. It is killing people without any need. Okay. So next, international legacy concerns is the legality of US strikes. Experts argue the US naval strikes or attacks violate international law, and summary executions at the sea are illegal even if the targets are proven narcotics traffickers, and the US has not released evidence proving that the vessels targeted were engaging in drug smuggling or not. There is no correct proper proof, and without the proper proof, how can a country kill innocent civilians of another country? Then US Charter implications is the strikes and the court operations, if not authorized by the United Nations Security Council or justified by self-defense, could amount to breach of sovereignty and acts of aggression under the international law. So this can amount, like, not possibly sanctions, but it has to be amounting to sanctions. But since it is USA, I don't think they will get any sanctions. Next, so what is the possible implications of this one? Geopolitical. In the security, it raises fears of direct US and Venezuela confrontation and destabilization of Caribbean and Latin America region. And the Venezuela region was going through all kinds of trauma or issues in Venezuela. One was mainly because of economic issue. Economic issue. That is, inflation was hyperinflation was happening in Venezuela. As a result, people are leaving Venezuela, and President Maduro is killing his opponents left and right. So, as a result, USA, and also one more reason for USA to involve in Venezuela was the discovery of natural resources or oil gas resources, crude oil and gas resources, which is said to be the largest in the whole world itself. Largest oil reserves in the whole world itself. As a result, wherever there is a oil, USA enters itself. The regional politics may polarize Latin American countries between the US aligned governments and the leftist regimes sympathetic to Venezuela. We have to see which country will side with USA and which country will side with Venezuela. In US domestic policies, this assertive foreign policy or gestures could be aimed at projecting strength ahead of elections but may face legal and diplomatic backlash. Next, humanitarian is and humanitarian escalations risks worsening Venezuela's ongoing economic and refugee crisis. Okay, then another article from the Hindu, which is an editorial which talks about better global governance led by China and India. The author is Quinji, who is the Consul General of People's Republic of China in Mumbai. And the theme is India China cooperation, global governance, and multipolar world order. We'll discuss what is the context and background. 2025 marks 75 years of India China diplomatic relations, which were established in April 1, 1950. This article reflects Beijing's diplomatic messaging ahead of the 25th SCO summit, that is Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit in Tianjin, and the 19th meeting between President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The ties it ties bilateral relations to the broader theme of reforming global governance amid global shift towards multipolarity and Asian insurgence. Historical overview of India-China engagement. Since 2014, Xi and Modi have met 18 times at various summits, be it BRICS, G20, SCO, or bilateral engagements. And the landmarks event were in 2014, Xi's visit to India, a joint declaration for a closer partnership for development. In 2015, Modi's visit to China reciprocated with a strong symbolic diplomacy. And in 2024, post-pandemic resumption of direct dialogue. Between this, there were certain border skirmishes which happened in Galwan Valley, which happened in Doklam. As a result, the direct flights between India and China were stalled. All this democracy and diplomacy that was built over a period of time were halted due to this Galwan and Doklam skirmishes at the border, which were considered to be the largest border skirmishes since the 1962 war. But post pandemic and since 2024, India and USA are together working towards resuming these relations. So, post pandemic resumption of their dialogues, that is, meetings at Johannesburg in BRICS 2023 and Kazan in BRICS 2024, lead into important understandings on restoring ties. UN Net 80 is a turning point for global governance. What does this mean? The author situates the argument within 80th anniversary of UN's founding, noting that the current system faces rising unilateralism, protectionism, hegemonism, and terrorism, and a crisis of legitimacy and effectiveness in global governance structure. Okay, so he calls for reform to prevent a return to jungle law and ensure the system reflects 21st century realities. United Nations was created in the 1940s or 1946 to be exact, 1945 to be exact, post the Second World War, and the time and the situation or the circumstances or the geopolitical world order were different in 1945 compared to current 2025 or 21st century. So the United Nations should also reform to the changes that are happening in the world as well. So he calls for reforms in United Nations. Next, Xi's global governance initiative. Recently, Xi Jinping gave 5 principles for global governance initiative. That is Central India SEO Summit, recent SEO Summit. The central focus of the article, the GGI, Xi Jinping's global governance initiative proposes reforms to make global governance fairer, more inclusive, and effective. What are the principles? First is sovereign equality. It is every nation's sovereignty, dignity, and development path must be respected and promote democracy in international relations and in the international rule of law. Uphold United Nations Charter and avoid double standards. That is, major powers must lead by example. This was a direct attack on United States. Next, in multilateralism, strengthen and not weaken the United Nations role, ensure global affairs are managed collectively. This is irony, you can say. Irony is China doesn't want India to be part of United Nations Security Council because it wants to maintain that hegemony. But here it is talking about multilateralism, where it is talking about the hegemony of USA, whereas China itself has hegemony in the United Nations. Okay, that is a discussion for another day. Next, fourth principle is people-centered approach. That is, focus should be on improving human well-being and addressing the shared challenges like poverty, climate, and inequality. And the final principle is real results orientation. That is, ensure governance mechanisms deliver tangible outcomes. Developed nations should contribute more resources while developing nations unite for mutual progress. Okay. Next, he also talks about India and China. That is, they are both partners and not rivals. Both nations are portrayed as civilizational powers with a shared responsibility to promote solidarity among the developing nations and reform international institutions and reflect the voice of global south. So, G's suggestion for India-China relations were deepening the strategic communication and mutual trust, expand exchanges and cooperation for win-win outcome, accommodate each other's concerns peacefully, and coordinate in multilateral forums to defend shared interests. And Prime Minister Modi reportedly affirmed that ties are back on a positive trajectory and border peace is maintained and the direct flights are resuming, which is a symbol of normalization. Next, key message out of this article is 21st century can truly become Asian century if two elephants, that is India and China, can collaborate instead of compete. Joint leadership should focus on strengthening the multilateralism, enhancing representation of developing nations, and foster global stability and the shared prosperity. The next step for Afghanistan after New Delhi visit. This article I will not be discussing in the video. A very simple article which focuses on what Afghanistan should do, what Afghanistan should do with respect to India, with respect to recent attacks from Pakistan, with respect to recent visit to New Delhi as well, and what it should do. Should it go out of the clutches of Pakistan and should it go towards direct engagement between China, Russia, and USA, and also India, or should it be at the hands of Pakistan? And finally, this argues for Afghanistan to or Taliban to move towards direct engagement between China, Russia, and India. So there are areas for engagement between India and Pakistan, Afghanistan, such as drug eradication and crop substitution, and water cooperation, and education and gender inclusion. So these are the areas where both can collaborate. And India's strategic approach should be whole of government approach, that is integrating foreign policy, security, finance, water, etc., and strengthening the National Security Council. Objective must be consistent across the governments, that is ensuring Afghanistan remains friendly, stable, and connected to India's long-term interests. And what is the Pakistan's role in the regional picture? Pakistan has no, or Pakistan's army has no interest in the stable Afghanistan. They prefer influence and control over the Taliban. As a result, they recently attacked on Afghanistan. However, ordinary Pakistanis, especially the Pashtuns, especially the Pashtun tribal or Pashtun indigenous people, have cross-border family and business ties and stand to gain from the peace. And Afghanistan-Pakistan trade in transit could generate 10 billion annually, but this depends on the Pakistan seizing act as a security state. Next article concludes that democracy and non-military domination is the only sustainable solution for regional stability. And that is the reality itself. So Afghanistan should focus on, and the regional power should also focus on making Afghanistan a safer and secure state. Next prelims pointer is, first point is United Nations GGIM AP. What is this? United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management for Asia and Pacific. Latest was India was elected as co-chair from the period of 25-28 for this UNGGIM AP. It is one of the 5 regional committees under United Nations GGIM, and which is under United Nations ECOSOC. It was formed in 1995 as part of PCGIAP and renamed in 2020 as United Nations GGIM AP. And the members are 56 Asia Pacific countries are part of these members, and the secretariat is present at UNESCAP, that is East, uh, Southeast and Asia Pacific region in Bangkok since 2018, and it aims to promote use of geospatial info for sustainable development, focus on data sharing, capacity building, and cooperation, and helps maximize economic, social, and environmental benefits through geospatial technology. Very important. It is in news because India was elected as co-chair of this GGIM AP. Next is Taftan volcano of Iran. The location is in southeast Iran, which is 56 km from the Pakistani border. Type is a semi-active stratovolcano. It is the only active volcano in the Makran volcanic arc, formed due to subduction of Arabian crust under the Eurasian plate. It has two summits, Naruk and Matkeruk, and the features are fumaroles, that is sulfur vents, and hydrothermal activity. There is no recorded eruption in the human history, but may be awakening after 7 lakh years. And the stratovolcano is a steep cone-shaped explosive tape formed at a subduction zone. So this is about Takhtan volcano. It was a news because recently there were studies about this volcano. So this is about today's news analysis. If you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share it with your friends. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any notification.